living like a prince. Made the hammer go, crushing my heart to pieces. Never hold it, just leave it. Resurrect and believe it, just receive it. He could do a better job than you can make it. You can fake it, flip, twist, and mold it, but you're still holding it. And if I knew I didn't have to force my future, baby, I would have been sleeping in. Hey, I did my best and God did the rest. Believe. I did my best and God did the rest. Receive. I said we did our best and God did the rest. It's not me.
Hey SEY, Vivi here. So we're in this series called Noise. And honestly, I really think this series is a special one. And I think it's a special one because of how unique it is. You know, we're talking all about the noise in your life, the anxieties in your life, the stresses in your life that are all just a bunch of noise. And so here's the thing, though, is that the noise isn't quite the unique thing because every single one of us has got some type of noise. You know, last week, Blake talked all about finding where you find your peace in, and it's directly connected to the noisiest things in your life. But what I think is interesting is that today, we're going to talk a lot more about what that peace that's up for grabs, that Blake was like, make requests for this. We're going to talk about what that actually looks like this week. So to just start, I would love it if you would just let me enter your world for just a moment. And I promise, I'm not trying to put you on blast or anything like that. I just maybe want to ask you a question that not many people ask you enough of. And it's a question that even Blake asked last week, but I want to ask it again because I'm sure it hasn't stopped. And the question is simple. When it comes to the noise in your life, what is the noisiest thing in your life right now? And I know the year just started, but even a month in or however long we're in, I want to just know what is the noisiest thing in your life. When you think about your heart, when you think about just where your mind is at, when you think about just where your soul is at, what is the noisiest thing in your life right now? You see, because what's unique about this series, it's not the noise, but it's the fact that I don't feel like I have to convince you to listen. Because every single one of us has something going on in our life that is robbing our peace. And that's something so unique about this series is that I don't feel like I have to convince you because I know the things you feel in your life, your heart, your soul, your mind. I know those things already have convinced you to listen. Because we're talking about something that sometimes just feels impossible to actually experience. And so today, again, I just asked if I could enter your world, but I just want to have a conversation about what this peace actually looks like and how to actually be at peace when it comes to your heart, your mind, your soul, all the things, how your soul is going to find rest. But I would be messed up if I asked if I could enter your world and didn't let you enter into mine, okay? And I'm going to do that. And I feel comfortable with you guys, even those of you that I haven't super met yet, because I've been a part of SEY for 9 years now. Crazy. It makes me feel old. 3 of those I was a youth leader too. So hug your youth leaders tight because we rarely make it through. But I asked if I could enter your world. So I want to just share with you that 4 years ago now, fall 2018, I did one of the dumbest things I could have ever done. Ladies, actually guys in the room, you know too. I started seeing someone, okay? We're getting there. We're getting in my grill. We're going there. I started seeing someone. And you know where this is going, that honestly it was a total mistake, but I had just graduated college, and I was just in a place where I felt like I was growing, and God was like, hey, I love that you're growing, but before we continue to go here, we need to go here. And so I was like, okay, I guess. And I knew God was saying that to me, but honestly, I was like, but that's dumb. I don't want to go there. And God was like, you're dumb. God didn't really tell me that, but I felt that. And I listened, okay? So I started seeing someone. And the someone I started to see, this guy, well, let me just tell you, for one, it wasn't a dating someone, okay? So chill out. We can talk about that another time. But it was someone that I was talking to that really just helped sift through how messed up I feel like my life is sometimes. I'm talking like a therapist, counselor, soul care type of person. This is who I started seeing, okay? And the hardest part about this season of my life was that nothing had hit the fan. Things were chill. I was calm, cool, collected. Things were chill. But I was just in a place where I felt like I want to keep growing, and God was like, that's where we're gonna go. And some of you might be like that, where I knew what was going on. I knew what was robbing my peace. I knew where I needed to grow. I just didn't know how. So that's why I ended up in this guy's office, okay? And I think, honestly, that's how a lot of us approach peace or are with peace, is that we can very easily tell you what's robbing it. We know exactly the thing that makes us so anxious, so stressed out. We can identify it to the core. We just don't know how to get out of it. And so I remember fall 2018 sitting there explaining to this person everything just that was going on in my life and just saying, so this is where I'm at. And like every good counselor, soul care, therapist person, this guy said, And I'm like, what? I'm sitting there like, okay, this is like the first time I had ever done anything like that. And so then I go out and I'm like, yep, well, that's everything. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? That is everything. And then I'm thinking, so what now? And then he said again, And at that point, I'm just starting to get offended because I'm like, what? You got something to say? Say it. I'll go Enneagram 8 on you. Like, that's not how that kind of meeting works, though. And so he then proceeds to then actually say, although it was following a, and then he goes on and says, Vivi, God made us human beings, not human doings. And so naturally, obviously, I walked out of this thing wanting a refund for something that I didn't even pay for because I'm like, that's not what I wanted. Give me the roadmap. Give me the play. Give me something to do because I know what my problem is. I just don't know what to do. And isn't that how so many of us go about peace? We just want to know how. We want the quick fix. We just want to get out. We want to get to it. And so today, I want to have a conversation about what this actually looks like, how to actually get it, how God says this is how you can experience my peace. And so we're going to actually pick up where Blake left us last week. Sorry, I'm about to say skinny dipping, and it got me kind of frazzled. But Blake mentioned something called the armor of God, and he called out a bunch of us and basically said, so many of us skinny dip with the armor of God. We only bring the helmet of salvation, and that's it, okay? But he talked about peace. He talked about shoes of peace. And so in Ephesians 6, verse 15, it says, for shoes, put on the peace that comes from the good news. It comes from the good news so that you will be fully prepared. And honestly, like I'm with Blake, like feet are gross, okay? Especially a lot of you guys. But, the hope is that you're putting shoes on. But here's the thing about shoes, is shoes, you need them for every step of the way. You need it for every step that you take. You need shoes. You need shoes. And not only that, shoes are what keeps you up. It keeps you grounded. And this is why I think this is so important. So before we even unpack that more, I want to ask again, what is the noisiest thing in your life right now? What is it? Because Paul isn't saying don't put on the worry. He's not saying don't put on the stress. He's not saying don't put on all of those insecurities, those bad thoughts you have about yourself, or the list of to-dos that you think once you do those, then your life will work out. He doesn't say that. He starts off by saying the only way to have peace, the only way that your soul can actually be at rest is with the gospel, the good news, the fact that Jesus came into this mess of a world that we live in. And if you're wondering, okay, what's the gospel? What's the good news? The good news is that, yes, I am so prone to wander. I am prone to not want to live my life like God. I am prone to want to live life my way. Me, even now, I am prone to fall into my sin. What is sin? Sin is anything that separates you from God. And I'm prone to live like that. I'm prone to think of only myself. I'm prone to want to get credit, to get jealous over what I'm not, to envy what I don't have, to get offended easily. I'm prone to feel alone and to actually believe that I am alone. I am prone to desire immoral things that hurt God. I am prone to live this way, and this is the gospel. The gospel is, but all of that, all of those things that I am prone to do were nailed to the cross with Jesus. And Jesus says, God, take my life, not theirs. Even though they're prone, take me, not them. That's the gospel. That's the good news. And what it is it's not normal. That's not how I think about things. If I had a list of all those things, the things that I'm prone to do, if someone was prone to be that way toward me, I'd probably want nothing to do with them. And yet the gospel is a story of how God wants everything to do with you, even in spite of all that. And that's why we get Jesus. So I want you to hear this first point. When we're talking about peace, when we're talking about our souls, you need to hear that true peace is found in the beyond. You see, because this not normal thing, it's not normal because it's beyond our way of thinking. And that's the same way peace is. It's beyond our normal way of thinking. And you see, some of you, the very reason why you're not into the whole Christianity thing, that it just doesn't make intellectual sense, that's the very reason why you'll never experience true peace in your life. And I want you to hear this, that a lot of times it's our earthly understanding that becomes our eternal hindrance. Some of you need to hear that, and I need to hear that. Because I'm not able to have peace because of anything I do, even though that's what my mind thinks, but it is because of Jesus. And some of us don't have peace because we just don't know Jesus. And some of us know Jesus just like the demons did, but we just don't know about Jesus, his life, the life he's made us for by reading the Bible. And listen, we act like this is basic truth. I guarantee I lost probably half of you, especially the good Christian all-stars that are here every single Wednesday. You're like, duh, that's exactly what it is. We act like it's basic truth. And yet, Paul knows it's not. That's why he mentions it again in Philippians to another church while he's in prison. And this is the verse that continues where Blake left off in Philippians last week. Philippians chapter 4, after it says, don't be anxious about anything, but in everything, present your requests to God. And then it says this, then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Listen, again, a lot of us act like this is basic truth, and especially Philippians chapter 4. So many of you guys, once you turn 18, this is the verse you're going to get tattooed on your arm, tattooed on your foot. Some of you tattooed on your lower back. Sketchy. I don't know even know if that's still in. But let me ask, is it tattooed on your heart? Because for me, it's not always. This type of peace, it's not always, but guarding my heart, guarding my mind, guarding my soul, when the world is falling apart, this is what I need in my life. So where is this kind of peace? Listen, it's not found in your circumstance, but God's peace is found beyond it. It is a deep peace. The type of peace that Philippians is talking about, it's a deep peace. The reason it's beyond circumstance and beyond our thinking and beyond all of that is because this type of peace was not meant to be contained by our understanding. It was meant to be experienced by it. And let me just say to a lot of you watching in SCY, right now, your generation is being set up to lose. And it's because of my girls, Alexa, Siri, Google, in that we'd rather just know the answer right away rather than experience it. And that's not how faith works. You know, we've got a whole generation of people that we call ourselves believers, yet we don't put nearly enough faith in the Jesus who beat death that we do on the chairs that we sit on. Did you guys notice that before I sat in this chair, I wasn't saying, where did this chair get made from? I need to know who made it. I need to know how it works. I need to know how long it was in this room on this earth. No, I just sat in it. What if we lived our lives that way? I guarantee we'd have a better shot at experiencing peace. And so I want you to hear this, that this type of peace, the reason it comes from the good news, comes from God, is because God already knows how things are going to end. Blake talked about that so much last week, and I'm going to say it again. So what if we spent less of our time focusing on all the things that are wrong in our life, that aren't right? And what if we started focusing more on, God, how can you make me right? How can you make me right? I just wonder how much more we'd be able to experience this type of peace. You know, I got to hear this pastor recently talk about how faith, it's not insurance, but so many of us treat it like that. Like, oh man, if I lose my friends, then God's gonna step in. Or, oh man, if this happens, then God this. That's how insurance works. Those of you that drive know that. You get car insurance in case you get in an accident. But the type of insurance or whatever that faith is, it's not insurance. It's assurance. It's not even if something's going to happen. It is even when even when God is still going to be there. Even when your friends leave you, God is still going to be there. Even when things happen, that thing with your parents or the situations don't work out the way you want, even when God is still with you. So hear this. True peace, it comes from assurance. It's not just an even if, but it is an even when our God stands in it, and he stands with you. He stands with you. And here's the thing, I don't want to see this generation lose. I don't. So you need to hear that having true peace, it's not found in our circumstance. So stop putting our hope in it, in friendships, in getting in a relationship, in being the top athlete or the student, or your skin color, or your gender, whatever it is, or once I graduate. That's not meant for your peace. It starts and finishes with Jesus. John 14 even says that the peace like this, it's something that the world can't give you. So when I say that true peace is found in the beyond, what I'm talking about is it is beyond what you can imagine and beyond what you can comprehend. So this is my last point that you guys need to lean in for. True peace, it comes from surrendering my will. So many of us need to be okay with not being able to understand it. This is the part in Philippians that really slapped me in the face when I spent time in this, is that Paul is saying that it is beyond your understanding. And here's the truth. If you're anything like me, when I first read that, I'm like, oh, yay, peace. It's beyond anything I can imagine. I love this. It's going to be great. But listen, sometimes peace, it's not experienced in my optimism, but sometimes peace is only experienced in God's deism. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's what makes God God. It means that he is perfect, which means so is his peace. It means that even when the world isn't, even when my life isn't, even when relationships aren't, even when situations aren't, how do I have peace in God? Because God is perfect, even though it's not going to make sense to me. My junior year of high school, I thought I was like on top of the world, and I hit rock bottom so fast. And just to make a long story short, basically, I had went cold turkey on a lot of things in my life, and I basically said, okay, God, my life is entirely yours. Not just an area, but my life is yours. And so I found myself in this moment where I was like, okay, God, I've been sexually pure. I've had the right friends, and this happens to me? You're going to let this happen to me? And then all my friends are going to choose something else over me, even though this isn't some high school drama. This serious thing happened to me. And let me just tell you, I was angry, I was confused, I was frustrated, I was all of these things that caused so much noise in my life, so much anxiety in my life, and I knew that my soul was just at unrest. But what I didn't know is that peace was possible in that. Until I started just surrendering my ability to understand, my desire for justice, my desire for my friends to know what actually happened. And I just started surrendering that and saying, God, you know how things are going to end up. So I trust you with that. And let me just say, this type of peace that we're talking about in Philippians, it's the type of peace that when you surrender your will, you will experience it. And it is the type of peace that says, even though my circumstances didn't change, even though the things around me might not have changed, I have. God is doing something so deeper in me. And let me just tell you, SCY, this is the type of peace that if you request it, you will experience it. But so many of us just have to surrender our desire to understand. So I want to leave you with this. How is this possible? How is this type of peace possible in your life? It's possible when you start to identify what it is that's holding you back. So whether it's with a friend, a leader, your groups, after this, don't listen to this and just walk away and that's it. Talk about this with somebody. Talk about what is it that's holding you back. And surrender it. What is it that you're trying to understand, trying to make sense of, and surrender it? Because I guarantee you, when you surrender it, you're going to start to experience the type of peace that is beyond anything that it was meant for. SCY, I love you, and I hope that this type of peace is something that you don't just know or hear about, but that you start to experience it this year.